This is part 2 of chapter number 12, electricity of class 10. Okay, in part 1, we have studied about electric current and potential difference. Electric current is defined as the charge flown per unit time, that is I is equal to Q upon T. Whereas the potential difference is defined as the work done in moving a unit charge from one point to another in an electrical circuit. Okay, also we studied about electrical circuit. Electrical circuit is the closed and continuous path of electric current. Okay, now in this part we'll be studying about some symbols of electrical components, Ohm's law. Okay, also here we'll study one activity to verify Ohm's law, factors affecting the resistance of a conductor, and then we'll study about resistivity. Okay, we'll try to complete these topics. Okay, if we are unable to complete, we'll continue in the next part. Circuit diagram. Okay, circuit diagram is the electrical circuit. Diagrammatically we are showing using the symbols of the electrical components. Okay, so we'll draw one circuit diagram using the symbols of all the electrical components. Okay, such a diagram we call it as a circuit diagram. So some symbols of electrical components. The first one, cell, which is represented by two parallel lines, one longer and the other one shorter. This longer one represents the positive terminal of the cell and the shorter one represents the negative terminal of the cell. Okay, so as we know, inside the cell there are two electrodes. One is the positive electrode and the other is the negative electrode. So this positive terminal is represented by the longer line and the negative terminal represented by the shorter line. Okay, and the two lines are parallel. The second one is battery. Battery is the series combination of the cells. Negative terminal of the first cell will be connected to the positive terminal of the second cell and so on. So battery is the series combination of the cells when they are connected one after the other. This is called as the battery. Next is key. So it is the conducting link between the cell and any of the other electrical component. It is represented by key. Okay, if there is no dot in here, it means this is open key. That is, the circuit is broken. The current is not flowing. Okay, the key is not inserted. Whereas for the closed key, we put a dot. It means the circuit is closed, the current will be flowing continuously. Okay, so this is the symbol for the closed key, whereas this one is the symbol for the open key. Okay, next is wire joint. Two wires which are joined together. That is represented by, like these are the two wires which are joined together. So we put a dot over here. This is the symbol for the wire joint. This is one of the wire, this is the other wire, and these two wires are joined over here. Okay, suppose there are two wires which are not joined together. Okay, wires crossing without joining. That can be represented by, let these are two wires. The other wire is crossing the first wire, but it is not joined to it. So we represent it by this symbol. It means these are two wires which are not joined. Okay, but in the figure we have to represent. So in the figure, how do we represent? We represented this in this manner. It means these are the two wires which are not joined. And next is for electric bulb. Electric bulb. It is represented by this symbol. So this is the symbol of the electric bulb. Next is resistor having a resistance. Now resistance means resisting something. What is it resisting? Opposition to the flow of electric current. So any conducting wire has a property to oppose the flow of the electric current. This property of the conductor, we call it as the resistance. So electrical resistance means the opposition to the flow of the charges, or we can say that the opposition to the flow of the electric current. So all conductors have some resistance, some have more, some have less. So the resistance can be represented by this symbol. This is the symbol having a fixed resistance. Okay, this resistance is fixed. Okay, if the resistance is variable, for variable resistance, It is shown by an arrow over the wire. So this shows the variable resistance, okay, or this can also be represented in this form. Okay, so this is the symbol for rheostat. Rheostat is an instrument which changes the resistance in any electrical circuit. Okay, resistance changes, it means it regulates the current, it changes the current. Okay, so in some of the electrical circuits, the resistance has to be changed. That is, the rheostat has to be introduced over there. A part having fixed resistance, this is the resistance which is variable. Okay, next one is ammeter. Ammeter is an instrument which measures the electric current in a circuit. Okay, and it is having positive and negative terminals. So in a circle, we write it as A. One end is positive, the other end is negative. Okay, these are connected by the connecting wires in an electrical circuit. The next is voltmeter. The symbol for the voltmeter is in a circle, capital V is written. It means it is the voltmeter and it measures the potential difference between any 2 points in an electrical circuit. So we have studied that voltmeter is a device which measures the potential difference. So again, voltmeter is having positive and negative terminal. One end is positive, the other end is negative. Okay, next is galvanometer. Galvanometer is a device which detects the electric current in a circuit. Okay, it does not measure the electric current. Electric current is measured by ammeter. It only detects whether the current is flowing in the circuit or not. Okay, and it is represented by this symbol in a circle. G is written. This is the symbol for galvanometer. Okay, and it doesn't have positive and negative terminal. So these are some of the electrical symbols for electrical components. Next is Ohm's law, which was given by Simon Ohm, George Simon Ohm, a very famous scientist who gave the relationship between the potential difference and the current. Okay, now according to Ohm's law, the potential difference between the ends of a conductor, the potential difference between the ends of a conductor is directly proportional to the current flowing through it. Okay, the potential difference across the ends of a conductor is directly proportional to the current flowing through it, provided the physical conditions like temperature, etc. should remain constant. V is directly proportional to I, provided the temperature is constant. Okay, so on equating it, the constant of proportionality is R. Here, this R is called as the resistance of that material of the conductor. Here, R is called as the resistance of that conductor. Okay, and how physically we can define it? Resistance, resisting something, that is opposing something. It is opposing the flow of charges, that is, it is opposing the current flowing through it. So resistance of any conductor is the opposition to the flow of the charges through it, or we can say that it is the opposition to the flow of the current. To this, V is directly proportional to I. So how will be the graph between V and I? The graph between the potential difference and current will be a straight line passing through the origin. Okay, any two physical quantities, if they are directly proportional, this is the shape of the graph. So V directly proportional to I. So the graph between V and I is as shown. That is, the graph is a straight line, OA line, having some slope which is passing through the origin. Okay, now the slope of any line can be determined by slope of OA line. Let us determine the slope of OA line. The slope of any line is determined by complete this triangle. Okay, it becomes a right angle triangle. The perpendicular distance upon the base. This we call it as this how we find out the slope of the line. So here slope of the line is AB upon OB. Here if you see that AB is what? The potential difference. OB is what? Current. That is V upon I. And V upon I, just now we found that it is equal to the resistance. So here the slope of the VI graph line gives the resistance, provided V is taken along y-axis and I is taken along x-axis. Okay, so if V is taken along y-axis, I is taken along x-axis, then the slope of this OA line gives the resistance. So the slope of VI graph line gives the resistance. Ohm's law states that the potential difference between the ends of the wire is directly proportional to the current flowing through it. That is, V is directly proportional to I, provided the physical conditions like temperature, etc. should remain constant. Okay, so on equating it, V is equal to R into I. This R is called as the resistance of that conductor. So the resistance is the ratio of the potential difference to current. From here, you can see that the resistance is the ratio of the potential difference to the current. Okay, now comes its SI unit. We know that the potential difference has a unit volt and the current has a unit ampere. So the unit of resistance is volt per ampere. Now, in order to honor the scientist Ohm, this unit is taken as ohm. So volt per ampere is taken as ohm, and it is represented by the symbol as shown. This is a Greek symbol. So it is represented by the symbol ohm. This is the symbol for ohm. Now let us define 1 ohm resistance. 1 ohm resistance is equal to 1 volt upon 1 ampere. So 1 ohm is the resistance of a conductor when a potential difference of 1 volt is applied across the ends of a conductor such that the current flowing through it is 1 ampere. So how can we define 1 ohm resistance? 1 ohm is the resistance of a conductor when 1 volt of potential difference applied across its ends to flow a current of 1 ampere through it. As V is directly proportional to I. Suppose we double the potential difference across the wire in an electrical circuit, so the current will also be doubled. Okay, V is directly proportional to I. Double the potential difference, the current will also be doubled. So resistance is not depending upon these two factors, V and I. Okay, if the voltage source is kept constant, V is constant, then resistance is inversely proportional to current. If V is constant, okay, only in that case, if the voltage source is constant, then resistance is inversely proportional to the current. Because in some of the electrical circuits, we have to regulate the current, we have to change the current. So what is done in those electrical circuits? The voltage source is kept constant, okay, and the resistance is changed. A variable resistance is connected in that electrical circuit. Variable resistance, we call it as the rheostat. So rheostat is connected in that electrical circuit to change the current. So if the resistance of a wire is more, it means the current flowing through it will be less. Here we'll study one activity to verify Ohm's law. Okay, verification of Ohm's law means the potential difference is directly proportional to the current. Okay, or we can say that the ratio of the potential difference to the current will remain constant. That is, resistance of a conductor will remain constant. In order to verify this activity, the apparatus required is a battery, which is the source of electric current, an ammeter, which will measure the electric current, a voltmeter, which measures the potential difference, a rheostat, which changes the current, a nichrome wire. Nichrome is an alloy across which will pass the current and will measure the potential difference across it. The circuit diagram to verify Ohm's law is as shown. Here, this is a nichrome wire made up of nichrome. Nichrome is an alloy which is made up of nickel, chromium, iron, etc. Okay, so this is the nichrome wire across which we have to measure the current and the potential difference. We know that in order to measure the current, we connect an ammeter. In order to measure the potential difference across the ends of the wire, we connect a voltmeter. Okay, and obviously a battery or a cell is required. A key is there, which is the conducting link between this wire and the cell. Okay, also we need a rheostat. This is the symbol for the rheostat. Let's draw the conventional direction of the current from positive to the negative terminal. Also, ammeter and the voltmeter have positive and negative terminals. The positive terminal of the ammeter and the voltmeter connected towards the positive side of the battery. Negative terminals connected towards the negative side of the battery. Okay, we'll change the current with the help of rheostat and we'll measure the potential difference across the ends of this nichrome wire, and different readings will be taken. Let us take an example. This is the voltmeter reading and this is the ammeter reading. We take a number of readings. By changing the ammeter reading, correspondingly we will also change. Let us take an example. Suppose initially keeping the rheostat at one value, let the voltmeter reading is 2 volts and the current is 1 ampere. So here we'll calculate the ratio of V is to I, which we call it as the resistance. So 2 upon 1, it is 2 ohms. In the second reading, we change the value of the rheostat such that the current flowing through it is 2 amperes. Okay, then you will see that the voltmeter reads 4 volts. Again, find out the ratio of the potential difference to current. 4 upon 2, you will get 2 ohms. Okay, now we move the rheostat slightly such that now the value of the current is 3 amperes, and you will note down that the potential difference across this ends of the wire, which is measured by the voltmeter, is 6 volts. So again, the resistance is 2 ohms and so on. So every time you see that the ratio of V is to I is constant. That is, the resistance of this nichrome wire is constant. Or you can say that as you are increasing the current, the potential difference across the ends of this nichrome wire is increasing. The ratio of V is to I remain constant. So hence this activity proves Ohm's law. Okay, the next two topics, factors affecting resistance of a conductor and resistivity, will study in the next part, that is in part number 3. So in order to watch that, kindly subscribe to the channel and keep watching. Thank you. Before proceeding, the factors affecting the resistance of a conductor, let us study few terms related to resistance. The first one, resistor. Any conductor which is having some appreciable value of resistance is called as a resistor. So it is a conductor which opposes the flow of electrons. Okay, such a conductor we call it as a resistor. So resistor is a conductor which is having some appreciable value of resistance. So like metals, alloys, they oppose the flow of electrons, that is, they have some resistance. So they are called as resistors. So a resistor is a conductor which is having some appreciable value of resistance. Rheostat, which is also called as variable resistance. Rheostat or variable resistance. Okay, an instrument which will regulate the flow of current in an electrical circuit, that is, which increases or decreases the flow of electric current by changing the resistance. Okay, such instrument we call it as rheostat. Rheostat, it is a variable resistor which regulates the current, that is, which changes the current in any electrical circuit by increasing or decreasing the value of resistance, that is, by changing the value of resistance. The next is good conductors. So good conductors are the materials which offer low resistance to the flow of electric current. So these materials which offer low resistance to the flow of electric current, they are called as good conductors of electricity. That is, they allow the current to pass through them easily. Example is all metals are good conductors of electricity. Okay, like silver, copper, aluminium, all these are good conductors of electricity. Okay, and among the three, silver is the best conductor of electricity. That is, it allows the current to pass through it very easily. Next is poor conductors. Poor conductors are those materials which offer high resistance to the flow of electric current. That is, they do not allow the electric current to pass through them easily. Examples are like mercury, lead, alloys of chromium, etc., they are having high resistance, so they are the poor conductors of electricity. So good conductors means which allow the electric current to pass through them easily. Poor conductors which do not allow the electric current to pass through them easily. Okay, then the next is insulators, which offer very high resistance to the flow of electric current. That is, they do not allow the electric current to pass through them. Such materials are called as insulators. So insulators are the materials which offer very high resistance to the flow of electric current. That is, they do not allow the electric current to pass through them. Examples are like rubber, dry wood, plastic, etc. So resistor, any conductor which is having some value of resistance, and every conductor opposes the flow of electric current. So any conductor which is having some resistance is called as a resistor. Whereas the rheostat or a variable resistance, it is an instrument which regulates the electric current manually in an electrical circuit. Okay, how can it regulate the current? How can it change the current? By changing the value of the resistance. That is, by increasing or decreasing the value of the resistance, it can change the current in the circuit in any electrical circuit. Such an instrument is called as a rheostat or a variable resistor. Good conductors which offer very low resistance to the flow of electric current. Examples are silver, copper, aluminium, etc. Okay, that is, they allow the current to pass through them very easily. Whereas poor conductors are those materials which offer high resistance to the flow of electric current. That is, they do not allow the electric current to pass through them easily. Examples are like mercury, lead, etc. Insulators are those materials which offer very high resistance to the flow of electric current. That is, they do not allow the electric current to pass through them. And the examples are rubber, dry wood, plastic, etc. All these are insulators. Okay, now we'll study about the factors which affect the resistance of a conductor. The factors affecting the resistance of a conductor. Okay, that is, the resistance is affected by the following factors. The first one is the length of the conductor. It is found that the resistance is directly proportional to the length of the conductor. That is, more the length of the conductor, more will be its resistance. Okay, so the resistance of any conductor is directly proportional to its length. If we double the length, the resistance will also get doubled. The second factor is area of cross section. Okay, this is a wire. This cross sectional area, we call it as the area of cross section. Okay, this area is called as a cross sectional area or the area of cross section. And it is found that the resistance is inversely proportional to the cross sectional area. That is, if we increase the cross sectional area, then the resistance of that wire decreases. Okay, increasing the cross sectional area means making the wire thicker. Okay, so for a thick wire, the cross sectional area is more and its resistance will be less. So the resistance is inversely proportional to the cross sectional area. The third factor is the nature of the material. Different materials have different resistance. Okay, so it is depending upon the nature of the material. Every material does not have the same value of the resistance. Different materials have different resistance. Okay, like copper has very low resistance, silver has the least resistance. So it is depending upon the nature of the material. That is, different materials, different value of resistances. And the fourth factor is the temperature. The resistance also depends upon the temperature. With the rise in temperature, the resistance of a conductor increases. So with the rise in temperature, okay, so it is also depending upon the temperature. With the rise in temperature, the resistance of a conductor increases. So these are the factors which affect the resistance of a conductor. Okay, so the first one is the length, Resistance is directly proportional to the length of the conductor. More the length of the conductor, more will be its resistance. The second factor is area of cross section. Okay, this is called as the cross sectional area. Resistance is inversely proportional to the cross sectional area. That is, more the cross sectional area, less will be its resistance. And it's also depending upon the nature of the material. Different materials will have different value of resistances. Okay, different materials will have different resistances. The fourth factor is the temperature. With the rise in temperature, the resistance of a conductor increases. So these four factors affect the resistance of a conductor. Okay, so now there is one simple activity to show that how the resistance depends upon the length and cross-sectional area. Let's study a simple activity to show that how the resistance depends upon length and cross-sectional area. Okay, so here we make an electrical circuit. This is a cell or a battery, a key, and in this gap AB, we connect a nichrome wire, which is an alloy of nickel, chromium, iron, etc. Okay, so a nichrome wire of length L. A nichrome wire of length L is connected, and also we connect one ammeter to measure the value of the current. Okay, so AB is a nichrome wire of length L. Okay, and we note down the ammeter reading. The ammeter reading is noted down. Okay, let the ammeter reading measures as I ampere. Now we remove this wire AB from this gap and we connect another nichrome wire of the same cross-sectional area, but double the length. Okay, now the length of the wire is doubled. Again, the ammeter reading is noted down. This time it is found that the ammeter reading drops to I by 2. The ammeter reading becomes half. Suppose it was 2 ampere. Now it will become 1 ampere. It means the resistance is doubled. So first we connect a nichrome wire of length L in this gap AB and note down the ammeter reading. Suppose the ammeter reading is I ampere. Now we connect another wire which is made up of the same material, that is nichrome only. The cross-sectional area is also the same. Okay, that is the thickness of the wire is the same, but the length is doubled. And again we note down the ammeter reading. This time we see that the ammeter reading drops to I by 2. That is, the current is halved. It means the resistance of the wire is doubled. So if we double the length, the resistance is doubled. So this activity shows that the resistance is directly proportional to the length of the conductor. Double the length, the resistance is also doubled. Okay, the same way, to study about cross-sectional area, first we connect a nichrome wire of length L and cross-sectional area A. And cross-sectional area A in the gap. Okay, so we connect a nichrome wire of length L and cross-sectional area A in this gap. Okay, let the ammeter reading is I amperes. The ammeter reads I amperes. Okay, now we remove this wire. We connect another nichrome wire of the same length, but double the cross-sectional area. That is, double the thickness. So now we connect a thicker wire whose thickness is double than the previous one. Length is the same, material is the same. It is the nichrome wire, length L. Okay, but the cross-sectional area is 2A. It is found that the reading of the current, it becomes 2I amperes. Okay, the current is doubled. It means the resistance is halved. So this shows that the resistance becomes half. Thicker the cross-sectional area, resistance is halved, or we can say that resistance is inversely proportional to the cross-sectional area. So this activity shows that the resistance is inversely proportional to cross-sectional area. Okay, so we connect, we take a nichrome wire, first of length L, cross-sectional area, connect in the gap AB, and we note down the emitter reading. Suppose the emitter reading is 2 amperes. Okay, now we connect another wire of cross-sectional area double than that is double the thickness. Okay, this time we'll see that the current becomes double than that. Initially, if it was 2 amperes, now it will become 4 amperes. It shows that the resistance is half. So if we double the cross-sectional area, the resistance becomes half. So we can say that the resistance is inversely proportional to cross-sectional area. Okay, now we connect different material wires in this gap. First a copper wire, then a nichrome wire. Nichrome is an alloy of nickel, chromium, etc. Then of some other material. Every time you will see that the reading of the emitter is different, which shows that the resistance is depending upon the nature of the material. Okay, if the emitter reading is more, it means that wire is having less resistance. Okay, so this activity shows that the resistance also depends upon the nature of the material of the conductor. The next topic is resistivity, which is also called as specific resistance. For a given conductor, at constant temperature, for a given conductor at constant temperature, we have studied that resistance is directly proportional to the length and resistance is inversely proportional to the cross-sectional area. Okay, now the material is the same, given conductor. It means the material is the same and the temperature is constant. Then the resistance is depending upon length and cross-sectional area. Combining these two, we get resistance is proportional to length upon area. Equating it, some constant of proportionality comes. Here the constant of proportionality is represented by a Greek symbol which is called as rho. So R is equal to rho L upon A. This rho here is called as the resistivity of the conductor. So rho is called as the resistivity, which is represented by a Greek symbol. So rho is the resistivity. From here, rho is equal to R into A upon L. So the resistivity is equal to resistance into cross-sectional area upon length. Now, in order to define resistivity, we take the length to be unity. That is, if length is 1 meter and cross-sectional area is 1 meter square, then resistivity is equal to resistance of the conductor. Okay, so resistivity can be defined as it is the resistance of a conductor of unit length and unit cross-sectional area. Okay, so resistivity is defined as the resistance of a conductor of unit length and unit cross-sectional area. Length is unity and cross-sectional area is also unity. So resistivity is the resistance only of unit length and unit cross-sectional area. From here, we'll find out its SI unit. SI unit of resistivity is, the unit of resistance is ohm, area is meter square, and the length is meter. So ohm into meter square upon meter, it is ohm into meter. So the SI unit of resistivity is ohm into meter. Okay, so resistivity, how do we define it? It is the resistance of a conductor of unit length and unit cross-sectional area. Okay, and its unit is ohm into meter. Okay, so some points you have to remember. Metals and alloys have low resistivity. That is of the order of 10 raised to the power minus 8 to 10 raised to the power minus 6 ohm into meter. Okay, between metals and alloys, alloys have a greater resistivity compared to its constituent metals. Okay, so that is why alloys are used as heating elements. Okay, because they have a high resistivity and also they do not oxidize at very high temperature. Okay, heating elements in the heating devices like in electric geysers, electric heaters, the heating element is used, which are made up of alloys, because they have a greater resistivity and also they do not burn at very high temperature. That is, we can say that they do not oxidize at very high temperatures. Okay, so alloys have a greater resistivity than its constituent metals, whereas insulators have very, very high resistivity. That is why they do not allow the electric current to flow through them. Their resistivity is of the order of 10 raised to the power 12 to 10 raised to the power 17 ohm into meter. Okay, so we have completed part 2. In part 3, we'll discuss few questions based on resistance. Okay, and also we'll study the grouping of resistors, series and parallel grouping of resistors. So in order to watch that, kindly subscribe to the channel and keep watching. Thank you.